We'll start. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenna Schulman. I'm a college counselor in Northern New Jersey, and happy Thursday to everybody. I'm here supporting the University of Georgia with this red sweater on today. And I'm very happy to have Kelly Bird on, who is an admissions counselor at the University of Georgia in Athens, Georgia. And she's joining us today to talk about all things dogs. So, academics, student life, what's going on with admissions, and all things like that. She'll probably talk about how Georgia just went to the Common App, which you might not know if you haven't started applying yet, how amazing that is. So that was the big news of Georgia, as probably a lot of other news has come out since for the next admission cycle. So I will turn it over to Kelly, and as always, we'll monitor the questions and answers. So if you have anything that you want to ask her, please ask it in the question and answer chat box, and we will get to it either throughout the presentation or after. So I'll hand it over to you, Kelly. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenna. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kelly Bird. I'm one of the senior assistant directors in the Office of Admissions at Georgia. I've been with the university for about 10 years now, and I cover a recruitment territory within our office in the northeastern U.S. as well as California. So working with multiple time zones. Excited to be able to connect with you virtually, and I really appreciate you all taking time out of your schedules to learn more about UGA. University of Georgia was founded in 1785 and is the birthplace of public higher education. Huffington Post has named us the hipster capital of the South, which means we have the highest concentration of beards, barristas, and man buns than any other university in the South. But all joking aside, Athens is a really important backdrop to the student experience on campus because of the music and art scene, the creative culture, and the community that sits right across the street from historic North Campus, where you would start a physical walking tour. So the campus and the community are very close in proximity. That being said, if you Google the city of Athens, you would find it on all of your top 10 greatest college towns. Really great food, really great atmosphere, and a great place for a student experience. Athens is located about 65 miles northeast of Atlanta. So a lot of students ask about transportation, getting to and from campus. If students are choosing not to take their cars, usually wherever they're traveling from is another major airport that flies directly into Atlanta. There are shuttles that run every hour on the hour to and from the Atlanta airport to Athens. And one of the pickup stops within Athens is on campus. So makes it easy to go to and from for students. Now, beyond Athens, University of Georgia is really great too. We're home to about 39,000 students, with 29,000 of those being undergraduate students. Our undergraduate students have the opportunity to study in 17 different schools and colleges in over 200 majors and academic offerings. So that's a lot. But one thing we actually do not use in our admissions process is an intended major listed on an application. There's two reasons why we don't use it. One, it's not realistic that every 17 and 18-year-old knows exactly what they want to study in college or what career they want to choose. We feel confident with the services we house on campus that we can help students find their passion even if they don't know. Secondly, with 200 majors and academic programs, we have something for everybody. Essentially, the only major I think we don't offer is nursing. But with so many majors, it's really hard for the admissions office to be an expert in all of those things. So what we've done is we've built a majors website that essentially operates like Amazon.com. You can type in your interest, things that you're considering, and the search engine's going to generate terms that closely align with your search term. It's also going to suggest other paths for you, but if you click on one of those, you'll see information about what students are learning in the classroom, internship opportunities. You can also link directly to that department's website. Some even offer YouTube videos to get a current student perspective. So it's a really great tool in searching about any of the options that we do have. So I'd like to start with some of the distinctive opportunities that really sets the University of Georgia apart from the other great colleges and universities out there. You know, students have a lot of great options to choose from. And so one thing we recommend you doing is visiting colleges, listening to guys like me to learn more about where you want to go. There's three big things that we like to cover here. First and foremost, the University of Georgia's honors program is one of the top public honors program in the country. Students in the honors program have been very successful in major external scholarship competitions such as Rhodes, Fulbright, Gates, Cambridge. The honors program also houses the Foundation Fellowship and Bernard Ramsey Honor Scholarship programs, which are the most prestigious scholarships awarded by the university. It's the only scholarship application that would require a secondary application, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. The honors program is also a separate unit on campus, and so the application is completely separate from the admissions process, and we're actually not involved in their decision-making either. So one thing we do recommend is that if this is something that you're interested in, please refer to our honors program website to make sure that you're staying on top of their dates, their deadlines, and opportunities that students are afforded. Next up, experiential learning is a commitment that we make to all of our students. We started this in 2016, and we were actually one of the first large public research universities to make this commitment. Experiential learning is certainly a buzzword, and it's something you commonly hear at small institutions, but with having 29,000 undergraduates, it's a serious commitment we're making in saying that we guarantee all students who step foot on campus are going to have some type of learning opportunity that takes place outside of the classroom. So whether it is internships, study abroad, undergraduate research opportunities, service learning, or co-op, you know, students are going to get that, and they typically have more than one. And this is not something that is holding students on campus longer. It's actually enhancing their learning, as when we survey career agencies and employers, you know, one of the things that they want to see in students graduating are problem solving skills. And those are things that they can easily obtain from these experiential learning initiatives. I really like to talk about three of those a little bit deeper, being research, study abroad, and internships opportunities. And so research, we're a Research One university, but the distinguishing factor for UGA is that students can start undergraduate research as soon as they set foot on campus, and students have the opportunity to work alongside world-renowned faculty members. Our study abroad programs are an option for students on every single continent. So in theory, if students did want to go and study penguin migration in Antarctica, they certainly could. I can tell you that not many students choose that path, but it's cool to know that you could if you'd like to. We have two UGA campuses abroad, one being in Cortona, Italy, and the second being UGA at Oxford. UGA at Oxford is by far the most popular program that we have, with about 60 different areas of focus for students. Majority of the students and families on this call are also from out of state. And so one thing I like to highlight with our study abroad programs is that when students choose to study abroad, they're actually billed at an in-state rate, so they are saving money. So if students choose to study abroad, essentially it's cheaper for them to study in Athens, Georgia than in, Athens, Greece than in Athens, Georgia. So it's a great way for students to learn at UGA, but learn, abroad. In talking of study abroad and internships, a really cool program that we house in Washington, D.C. allows students to live and learn in UGA property domestically in the Capitol Hill area. Our work with students who have gone up there, they've worked with lawyers, politics, let's see, universities. It's not specifically limited by major, but students have some incredible opportunities to accomplish multiple experiential learning requirements within that semester. Internships are by far the most popular method that students will complete this experiential learning requirement, which essentially that usually leads to job placement. But our Career Center has some really great tools for students, and it also offers detailed information on where graduates are going as well. Last but not least, the Double Dogs Accelerated Master's Program allows students to complete their bachelor's and master's in 5 years or less. Essentially, it's saving time and saving money for students while they're on campus. So a few years ago, we looked at our data. A large number of students who were enrolling at University of Georgia started with a significant amount of college credit, whether that be from AP, IB, or dual enrollment. And many of the students were double or triple majoring, which is certainly an option. But we wanted to remove some barriers and allow students to go ahead and work towards that master's degree seamlessly. And so we built a program where students have 190 different pairings to choose from. And so this Double Dogs website is a really great tool to learn more about those options. But one I really like to showcase and highlight, especially for the interdisciplinary opportunities that we house, for students who are working on an engineering degree, can also work with our business school to obtain their MBA. So this is a very popular program for students who are enrolling. And once they get to campus, they can talk more with an advisor about how to take advantage of that. So student commitment is more than just a buzzword at the University of Georgia. And this is something that you can see in our numbers, and it's something that we are extremely proud of. Our first year retention rate is 95%. That means that 95% of our students come back for a second year because they are happy, they like campus, and they're doing well. Schools our size typically have a first year retention rate in the mid to low 70s, so we're doing something right. I think we can attribute this number, first of all, to our first year on campus living requirement. It's not really a requirement. I'd say it's more of a guarantee. So that means that all students who are enrolling in their first year are guaranteed housing, and that housing is what we refer to as prime real estate. It's centrally located in the heart of campus. It's right next to several bus lines, which will get you to every part of campus or even the city that you need to visit. It's right next door to one of the largest dining halls on campus, the largest learning center on campus, and it's not too far from Sanford Stadium, where the Georgia Bulldogs play on Saturday. So not a bad setup. Secondly, I think that number is extremely strong due to the 800 clubs and organizations that we house on campus. And so I could probably spend a couple hours talking about those. But one place we encourage you to look is through UGA student organizations, because there's a place for everybody to get connected and have that special bond with campus. Next up, UGA's 6-year graduation rate is at 86%. This is the norm for a federal reporting tool of graduation rates. However, most of our students are graduating in less than 6 years, typically 5 years with the Double Dogs program, or 4.5. And that half semester typically happens in the fall. And I think we can attribute that to certain Saturdays that take place in Athens as well. But our students are doing well. And last but not least, 96% of our students have a job offer in hand, or they're enrolled in a postgraduate program 6 months out. And so our Career Center also, as mentioned, I talked about the internship opportunities. they are required to also report a detailed summary of where our graduates are working, where they're going, their starting salaries, their titles. Students can search by majors, but we want to stay in touch with our students, so we send this annually after graduation to find out where our students are going. And so I'd encourage you to look into that and see what the job placement looks like for you and programs that you may be interested in. So let's talk about how you take advantage of these opportunities at the University of Georgia. It all starts with the first year application process. Jenna kind of stole my thunder with the Common App, but no worries. So the first year application at the University of Georgia will open up on September 1st. I realize that the platform for some applications may be open sooner. However, we choose to wait and give school counselors a little time to get back in the groove of things. So keep in mind that our application won't open up until September 1st of your senior year, because I realize we may have juniors, sophomores, and younger students on the call. I want to make sure I'm covering all of my bases. So application opens up on September 1st, and students can choose from 3 platforms. Most recently, the Common App, so recent that we don't even have it on our admission slides, the Coalition application, and then UGA's institutional application, which is accessible from our website. It's really important to know that we in our office have no preference which application you select. Use what works best for you. We don't recommend using multiple applications. That could create some problems, but talk with your counselors and figure out what's going to be the best option for you. If you're applying to all schools on the Common App, that just makes sense. Or the Coalition, stick with that. So no worries, pick which one that works best for you. Students who are applying have 2 decision plans, early action and regular decision. The most important thing to know is that early action and regular decision are the exact same application at the university. They are reviewed similarly. You can see that we have the exact same components required. The only difference really boils down to timing. And so early action has an earlier application deadline. Regular decision is going to be a little bit later. And so one of the most frequently asked questions we receive on our end in the admissions office is, which one should I select? I think we should change the question as to, are you ready to submit your application on that date? So if you're not ready by October 15th, wait, it's okay. The regular decision deadline is going to be January 1st, and it's the exact same review process. I'll talk a little bit more about how we review in the coming slides, but I do want to talk through those decisions that applicants could receive. In the early action application, students could receive 3 decisions. Number 1, they could be admitted. If we admit students early action, they have until May 1 to make up their mind. We're also non-binding, so students could tell us no if they wanted to, but this gives students flexibility. The second decision an early action applicant could hear from UGA is that their application has been denied. If a student is denied in our early action application round, that means they would not have been admitted even if they waited and applied regular decision. We don't believe in giving false hope in the application process. And so we're saying, based on the quality and the quantity of our application pool at that time, you would not have been competitive in our process, even if we waited, or even if you waited to apply regular decision. And so we want you to move forward with other options, make plans to attend another university. But if Georgia is your end goal, we have a transfer process that looks extremely different. And about 30% of our graduates each commencement ceremony started out as a transfer student. So a couple different paths. Last but not least, an early action applicant could hear that their application has been deferred. This means that we like what we see. You're a strong student, but we want to do a little bit of a deeper dive on your application. And so early action applicants who are deferred in that round, they can self-report their first semester grades. They can send in a new transcript from their counselor. They can retest for SAT or ACT. So know that there's no disadvantage to being deferred. It just gives you another window of time to provide us with additional information. So regular decision applicants, if you're not ready on October 15th, just wait and apply regular decision. A lot of students choose to do that, and particularly with the impact of COVID-19, we anticipate to see that, a good number of students are going to choose to wait just to make sure that they're getting testing in. And I'll speak more to that in a slide or two. So let's dive right into the first year applicant pool and talk about our student profile here at Georgia. We often hear the question, what are the minimum requirements to get into Georgia? I'll go ahead and tell you that the Board of Regents has minimum requirements, but they're so low that showing you them would do no good, as we are in a place where we have not had to use those minimums in many, many years. And so we have a pretty competitive applicant pool. And our information that we're showing you is driven solely by the applicants, who's applying, and the quantity of those applicants. And so these are our ranges for our middle 50% admitted profile for 2019. We won't post any 2020 information until the class is officially here and on campus. So you can keep an eye out for those statistics in late August. So our mid 50 are really in our big three admissions categories that I'm getting ready to break down in further detail for grades earned in high school, the rigor of curriculum for students, as well as standardized test scores. So students were admitted within these ranges. They were admitted above and below these ranges. There were also students within these ranges who were not admitted. And so having these does not guarantee admissions, but it does give you a good understanding of the types of students who are doing well here on campus. So let's talk about context. So in our review process, the primary factors that we are looking for in the admissions process are going to be academic. So primary academic information are going to be those big three categories: the grades earned in high school, rigor of curriculum, and standardized test scores. I'm going to start with grades because in our admissions process, grades earned in high school in the classes a student takes are going to make up 75% of our academic review. So that remainder, that very small fraction at the end, is then given to test scores. So let's talk about what's most important. So 4 years in high school is a really great predictor of success, of how you'll do in college. And so when we're looking at your transcript, we are not looking at a GPA that is listed on your transcript. We are actually looking at the letter grades you're earning in your core academic courses. We're going to count up how many A's you have, how many B's, how many C's. I don't want to talk about any other letters in the alphabet, but we're going to count up those grades in your core classes. So your math, science, social science, foreign language, English, and then any AP or IB electives. So if it's an A at your school, it's an A to us. If it's a B at your school, it's a B to us. So we're going to use your grading scale because we realize that there's a lot of different grading scales out there, and this is how we can level the playing field. Next, in your rigor of curriculum, we realize that just like grading scales, schools offer different courses and academic offerings everywhere. And so one thing that your application is supported by is a detailed school report. The school report is not a recommendation letter that says you'll be a great Georgia Bulldog. It is information that we get from your school official in better understanding the courses of rigor that are available to you. So how are you challenging yourself in those core academic classes? Can you take honors? Can you take AP? Can you take IB or dual enrollment? So we want to see students who are taking advantage of those opportunities at their school, because ultimately it prepares them for a place like UGA. Probably the second most asked question we receive throughout the year is, what should I take? So our office can advise you on coursework, and I'll tell you this, no college official should advise you on what to take. Reason being is because we don't know you personally, and we don't know what you can handle in the classroom and what else you're handling outside of the classroom, whether it is in your home life, do you have a job, extracurriculars, you name it. So that's information that I don't know. But your school counselor, they know that information and they know the courses that are available. So keep in mind, have that conversation, but because it'll carry over well. So last but not least, test scores. With the impact of COVID-19, we've gotten the question, is UGA going test optional? What's going to happen? I will say this, that the University of Georgia is a state institution. And so any change in our policy has to be directed to us by the University System of Georgia Board of Regents. And so at this time, we are still requiring an SAT or an ACT test score result. We realize there are a lot of uncertainties right now, and please know I'm saying at this time, because throughout the year, we all realize that this has been a very fluid year, but any changes have to be directed to us by our Board of Regents. And so they're monitoring the situation, we're monitoring the situation, but as of now, you need to make plans to submit an SAT or an ACT. The one thing about the University of Georgia is that we super score. And so we don't care if you've taken that test one time, 2, 3, 4, we only see your best test score results. So know that whether it's SAT or ACT, we just need one to have on record for your file. In our review process, secondary consideration is where we are able to do what we call a whole student review, where we're able to see who students are beyond those numbers. Because ultimately, UGA and the city of Athens, we're building a community, and we are looking for students who are going to come to campus, get involved, make an impact, and soak up all the opportunities that are presented here. So we're looking for students to contribute to campus. And so how do we see that? We see that through the actual application and the details that you share with us. Another question I often receive is, can I get an interview? UGA does not use interviews in our admissions process, and we physically can't. With getting 30,000 applications, we simply don't have the manpower. But the admissions application should be the interview. Students, present your best self, be detailed, tell us everything we need to know about you through your activities, involvements, your essays. We're also reading those recommendation letters. Our office takes a lot of time in reading this information because we realize students are as well. And so knowing that we are looking at students beyond the numbers, because at a certain point, our applicant pool is strong overall, and many great students would do well here. But we ultimately have space for 5,600 students. So make sure that you're telling us everything that we need to know so that we can get to know you a little bit better in that whole student review. Oh, one thing I do want to mention, essay prompts, that's a question that's going on right now and something that you can get started on right now. So our upcoming first year essay prompts have been released. And if you are not familiar with our admissions blog, you can visit the homepage of our admissions website and click on the blog, which has been in place for about 10 to 15 years. But it's searchable. You can ask questions there, but you'll be able to find the prompts and kind of get an idea of what that process looks like for you. So scholarships is an important part of the application process. And I want to talk about 3 different ones specific to the University of Georgia. First, students who submit a first-year application to Georgia are automatically considered for all merit-based scholarships. Doesn't matter if you apply early action or regular decision, the consideration is the same. And so we actually release our scholarships on a rolling manner. So students could receive a scholarship in mid to late November, all the way up until about mid to late April from our office. I'll talk a little bit more on timelines in the next slide, but there's a pretty wide window, and just by submitting, you're considered for all of them. Also on our admissions website, you'll find a scholarships page with a listing of about 40 merit-based scholarships. Each year we award about 17% of our undergraduate students some type of scholarship. And simply by applying, you're considered for all of those. With most people on this call, again, being out-of-state residents, cost is certainly a concern. And you'll notice on that scholarships page, we have scholarships that are geared specifically for students who are non-residents. Some of those scholarships come with a full waiver that are provided by our Board of Regents, and some of those come with a partial waiver. So they're half the difference of that in-state and out-of-state. And so, again, there's nothing additional you need to do, but just apply. The only scholarship that does require that secondary application is the Foundation Fellowship and Bernard Ramsey Honor Scholarship. You know, I mentioned it is the premier scholarship we offer. And to give you a little context, in 2016, UGA's Rhodes Scholar was a resident of New Jersey. She went to Rumson Fairhaven High School, and I want to say that she was admitted to every Ivy, but actually applied for the fellowship. She realized the incredible opportunities she was given. And particularly, she was excited about coming in and starting her research from day one, where there may have been barriers at other institutions. And so she didn't lose any time, but she's doing incredible things now. And this is the type of opportunities that come along with the fellowship. And so we typically select about 7 fellows each year and about 15 Ramsey scholars. Requirements can be seen on our scholarships page, but it's a great application and program for students who meet those minimums. Secondly, our need-based scholarships are going to require a FAFSA application. We encourage everybody to submit a FAFSA application regardless of their current financial standing. The FAFSA application is going to open up in, early October of student senior year. So families keep that on your radar. And then UGA's priority deadline is going to be in December. But this lets students know if they qualify for any need-based aid, loans, Pell, grants, work study programs. But also, I'd like to mention that the University of Georgia is going through a large capital campaign and fundraising. And one of the key things that they're looking to do is create need-based scholarships. And so in creating a need-based scholarship, we need to see that the need is there. So have that in as well. Last but not least, external scholarships. I speak a lot about UGA, but you guys, in this process, there's a lot of aid out there that just would require a student a little extra effort. And so external scholarships are going to be portable, they're stackable, and they'll follow you wherever you ultimately go to college, whether it's UGA or not. Oftentimes, when we talk with students about how many external scholarships did they apply for, usually it's a couple. And websites like Scholarship 360, fastweb.com, they work like the match.com of college scholarships. So it's easy to find out opportunities that would be relevant to you. But you're already writing essays, you're already updating resumes, you're doing all the things that scholarships typically would require. reuse that information. Just with a little bit of time and effort, it could have a pretty significant financial reward. Dates and deadlines, you guys, are super important in this process. So to kind of walk through, this is available on our website, but the first year application is going to open up in September 1st. And so the early action deadline will fall on October 15th. We give counselors and teachers a little bit of flex room in submitting supplemental materials, but be nice to your school officials and don't wait until the last minute. But early action decisions typically come out in mid to late November. And then students who are deferred through the early action process or are applying regular decision, they need to keep that January 1st deadline on their radar. So if students are deferred, again, they can send in supplementals up until January 1st. But students that are waiting to apply regular decision, have your application in at that time. So for the next couple of months, our team is reading to release our final admissions decisions by mid to late March, so that students can make an informed decision by May 1, which is the National Commitment Deposit deadline. Backtracking a little bit, I mentioned the Foundation Fellowship application, and you'll notice that the deadline is pretty early in the admissions process, and it is a rigorous one because of the financial benefits that come along with that. And so students that are going to apply, keep in mind that you must have submitted an admissions application before you can begin the Foundation Fellowship application. FAFSA application, again, opens in October, but that priority deadline is going to be December 15th. And so connecting with us at this time, we are still hosting virtual campus visit experiences. And so our physical programming is suspended at this time, but on our website, when we do resume face-to-face interaction, we'll have that there on our resources. But we would encourage you, students and families, if you want to learn a little bit more from the student perspective of things on our campus visit experience, there won't be so much admissions information, but there will also be a virtual campus tour led by current UGA students who can speak to what it is like to be a student on campus and give you a little bit of insight from their perspective. Also, if you want to connect with an admissions counselor, if you are from my region, you could find my information on our admissions staff page. However, say you're in a different state or a different school, just by going to our Meet the Staff page, you can search for your school and your counselor's information will pop up. And while you can reach out to any member of our team, it is a great starting point with working with someone who is familiar with your area of the country. So with that being said, I want to invite Jenna back on so that we can take some questions that may have come through the chat function.
Thank you, Kelly. That was really informative. Before we get to some questions, I just wanted to ask a little bit about if students are coming from the Northeast. I know people are kind of from all over, but maybe we'll just start with New York, New Jersey. What would it be like getting to the campus?
In terms of physical transportation, direct flight into Atlanta, and then typically about an hour and 15 minutes shuttle from the Atlanta airport to Athens. And so groom transportation is actually the preferred method of the UGA admissions team, as well as the university. With having a shuttle option every hour on the hour, it makes it easy to get to and from campus, particularly for students who don't want to bring their car. Now, if you wanted to bring your car, you absolutely could. But most students on campus, even if they are Georgia residents, actually don't bring one because they don't need it. The UGA bus line in Athens is the second largest in the state of Georgia, behind the bus system in Atlanta. And then with your student activity fees, you also have access to the Athens-Clarke County transit bus. And so it's very easy to get around without a car. But then again, with Atlanta and that shuttle, it makes it easy getting to and from wherever you are.
Okay. And then for those who haven't seen the campus and perhaps won't be able to see the campus before they apply, can you give a little bit more about like the visual layout of what the campus is? And then in relation to Athens, is it like right there within the campus or within the town, or how does it kind of all laid out?
How is it laid out? So Athens is a college town. We are not a metropolitan area. And so if you're looking for that type of college experience, that is great, but it's good to know that, you know, colleges are located everywhere. And so we're a college town with 130,000 residents outside of those 39,000 students. And so when I say that historic Athens is right across the street, my office is 100 feet from historic downtown, to where we've got incredible coffee shops, really great restaurants, shopping, you name it. I could spend my whole paycheck very easily. But that's kind of where the central buzz, and I would say like the vibe that all students are seeking in a college experience is within an eye shot of my office. And so a lot of students after their first year of campus are living downtown. But there's also some historic neighborhoods and homes that are still maybe a few blocks from campus, but are still within walking distance as an option.
Great, that helped. All right, so let's go to the audience. Wendy says, thank you for joining the Common App. Students in Houston are so excited. How many times have you heard that before?
Actually, that's the first that I've heard it, but no, I'm glad everybody is excited by that. So,
and just to clarify, because I know some people have asked it for other schools, you do not care what form of application students apply using?
No, we don't. I mean, everything's gonna filter in our system the same. So use what is gonna be best for the student and, you know, the counselor. So.
Okay. We have a question. Hi, how many people are enrolled in the Honors College?
Sure. So the honors program, I think 10% of the student population is enrolled in the honors program. And you'll notice that it's not a college, it's a program, because students in the honors program take normal classes. They have some great opportunities through the honors program, but it's an enhancement program. So I think it's important to keep in mind that all students at UGA have the same opportunities. And so I like to describe it as cake. All students at Georgia get cake, they get that icing, but you know, honors program students may get a corner piece with a little extra. They have some lecture-driven classes. They have some specific internship opportunities that are available to them. However, research is available for all students out of the gate. Travel study is not limited to students in the honors or outside of the honors program, and other internships. So keep in mind that it's a small part of our population, because if you look at our profile, all students could essentially be part of that.
Can you please tell us the top 5 majors at UGA based on numbers enrolled?
Sure. So probably the most high demand majors are going to be our journalism and communications program, which is number 2 in the country. If you haven't heard of Maria Taylor or Ryan Seacrest, they're graduates of the program, check it out. The business program, engineering, and then public health are probably going to be our top programs. But again, we've got those niche finite majors that you may have been like, oh, what is scientific illustration? So we essentially have a place and a path for everybody, but that majors tool is going to be super helpful.
Great. Can you discuss the split between students out-of-state enrollment versus in-state enrollment? What percentage of out-of-state students are likely to be considered for admission?
Great question. So one of the urban legends in our admissions process is it's easier or it's harder to get in if you're out of state. And I think we can blame that on some friends in neighboring states. So I'm here to dispel the myths that residency bears no impact on an admissions decision at Georgia. And I'll tell you, I don't know how many students I've worked with who actually have lived in Georgia all of their life and have misreported their residency, and they want to correct it. And we actually won't do that until a decision has been made, because it ends up being a lot of students and extra work from our team. And so know that in-state, out-of-state, that's not going to make a difference in our admissions process. When you look at the composition of our applicant pool, up until about 2016, the split used to be about 65% of our pool were Georgia residents, 35% were non-Georgia residents. The past 2 years, that pool has grown in out-of-state numbers, and so we're looking at about 51-49. So I think the coalition probably has helped that jump. But the next question that we hear is, okay, like what does the admissions rate look like for students out of state? It looks the same. We don't differentiate. If you looked at the pool, we typically are still admitting what the pool looks like. So it doesn't make a difference. But in terms of enrollment, I think we want to say 83% of our students that are currently enrolled are Georgia residents, and the remaining 17% are non-Georgia residents. I'll tell you that just because that number seems a little skewed, that doesn't necessarily mean that all of these students have lived in Georgia all of their life. When the Olympics came to Atlanta in 1996, the city grew from 1 million to roughly under 9 million. And so when we look at Social Security numbers of where our applicants were born, even the students that are Georgia residents, most of them were not born in Georgia. So maybe their family relocated from Colorado, New Jersey, New York. And so it's making for a cool experience that maybe that student finished their last 2 years of high school, and they're still a Georgia resident now, but they have some different experiences on campus.
Great. And can you talk a little bit about coming from the Northeast and people, no one's asked this, but I get this a lot, like the cultural differences of, oh, we're in New York and New Jersey, and now we're going to Georgia, and is it going to be all cows and everything like that? So just maybe explain a little bit of the cultural differences and how people assimilate into Athens, which is definitely a progressive city.
Yeah, I mean, Athens can often be described as a blueberry in a sea of red. And when I say that is that, you know, we have world-renowned faculty here. I mean, we have people that are doing some incredible research, and students get to work alongside them. We have, you know, faculty that are leading the way in new methodologies. And so with building kind of from the top down, even in like the faculty perspective, it trickles down. The community has great music, culture, it's affordable, the food is incredible. And so assimilating is not a challenge as long as the student is willing to step outside their comfort zone. And I think that can be said for a student that lives in Georgia, that goes to the Northeast, or a student who has lived in Athens all their life and decides to go to college here. College is going to be hard no matter where you go, in pushing yourself to meet new people that are different from you. And that's part of the beauty of the college experience, and something that our students seem to do well.
Awesome. Somebody asked, what is student life like? So Greek life, sports, I don't know if that means.
Yeah, I didn't even speak about some of that. So with 800 clubs and organizations, we have a lot to choose from. Greek life is a question that we get a lot, but quite frankly, less than 17% of our students actually participate in Greek life. So it's definitely a presence on our campus, but it's not something that all students feel like they have to be involved in. It's cool to care at Georgia, and the largest student-run organization on campus is something called UGA Miracle. Students fundraise all year long for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and last year they raised about $1.2 million, which is pretty incredible when you think about a student going to school, working, interning, doing all these things, and then caring for other people. Sports, obviously we have a football team. You may have seen them on TV. And part of a student's activities fee, first year students get those football tickets at a very affordable price. I want to say it's somewhere between like $10 to $15 for tickets. And I don't know if you've been to a Division I sporting event, but typically it's a lot more than that. And so our administration does a really good job in making sure that first year students get the full first year student experience. So besides football, we have more national titles in other areas, and those being equestrian. UGA's gymnastics team is pretty good too. But every other sporting event on campus is free. And so it's good to know that you can attend those at no cost. In terms of sports, let's say, you're not sure you're going to go D1, but you're a high school athlete who still wants to play competitively. We also have club sports, and our club sports, they're privately funded. However, those teams travel around and they play other SEC schools. So that's an option, as well as our intramurals. So pretty much a sport for everything you're interested in, varying levels. If you're looking to try something new, our rec center on campus is huge. It's more than 5 acres, rock climbing wall, swimming pools that Michael Phelps actually trained in. Most recently, Missy Franklin's been here, but really great facilities that students can take advantage of. So.
Great. Can you clarify application process to Honors College? You said you need to apply to the Honors College.
Yes, you definitely need to apply to the honors program. So we are not involved in their decision-making process. So you'll want to look to their website to see when their application opens up, timelines and things of that nature.
Since you use grades at face value, a B is a B. How do you reconcile a regular academic level B and an AP or honors B?
So both AP and honors are going to be some form of rigor. They're both going to be rigor, but we do recognize that AP and IB are going to be internationally standardized. But I mean, we want to see you challenging yourself, but challenging yourself also means doing well with what you can handle. So keep that in mind when you're selecting those courses. But in terms of any curriculum, taking the easy way out is something we can certainly recognize in students very well. So know that if you can push yourself and challenge yourself in courses, it's important to do that.
Thank you. All right, so I think that's it with questions, but Kelly, I would love to ask you, so what do you think makes UGA, to conclude it and wrap this all up, what do you think makes UGA stand out from maybe some of the other peer institutions, the larger state Southern schools that students apply to?
So I think with University of Georgia, students aren't compromising anything. So when students think about a large Southern, particularly SEC school, there may be compromises that they have to make, whether it is socially, academically, whatever that may be. But our academics here are leading the path across the board no matter what. But then students also get that big school SEC feel. There's not a lower standard of academics because of that. And so I think that is something that is important to keep in mind, is that whether you like sports or not, it is a unifying part of a college experience. And at University of Georgia, on any given day, you see students walking around with like UGA shirts on, and there's nothing going on but a typical day at school. Students are proud and they bond over that school spirit. And I think that's something that when we have students visiting, when we have school counselors on campus, that's something that they quickly identify, not something that I just made up on my own. So.
Awesome. This has been very informative. I've always wanted to learn more about UGA since I know it's so popular with my students and becoming more and more popular. Anything that I missed?
I think we got it, but go Dogs. Yeah.
Go Dogs. All right, I'm gonna just share, just to conclude, just a little plug for all the rest of our Spotlight series. So next week we have Penn State, Vanderbilt, Fairleigh Dickinson in New Jersey, Oregon. And then we have some other SEC schools, sorry, Kelly, throughout the second half. So we're almost halfway done through the summer, which is kind of crazy. And thank you very much for today. Hope that you make your return to the Garden State. I don't know if we're allowing anyone though.
Well, hopefully soon. So
Yeah, hopefully soon. All right. Thank you guys.
bye everyone.
Bye. Have a good night.